So our next speaker, his pastime is actually poking people on Facebook. No, I'm kidding. It's an inside joke. He'll probably explain it later. Is Eric Weaver. And Eric is the Senior Vice President of Social Strategy for Media Brands, Spring Creek Group. He's lecturer and thought leader focused on social business and marketing innovation. Over his 21-year career as one of the very first digital marketers, Eric has helped organizations like Clorox, eBay, Ford, GE, Johnson & Johnson, Kraft Foods, Mattel, the Mayo Clinic, Procter & Gamble, the U.S. Postal Service, the Clinton administration, and many more build and extend their brands online. So he started actually as a community manager with American Online way back in 1991. I didn't know the internet was around back then, but that's pretty cool. No, I'm just kidding. And moved on to build some of the very first website intranets and digital content for American multinationals. Today, Eric serves as Senior Vice President of Social Strategy for the Interpublic Group agency Media Brands within its Spring Creek Social Division, where he counsels major brands in the U.S., Europe on operationalizing social across marketing, PR, guest relations, customer care, training, and HR. And so without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Eric Weaver. Welcome, Eric, and thanks for coming out from Seattle.
Hi, folks. It's great to be back here in Vancouver. Thanks for letting me cross the border again after that last party at Social Media Club. It's really great to be here. It's really very confirming, I guess is the right word, to hear Peter's words about social business. You can tell from my tweets I'm a little bit of a jokester, but I really do believe that social media is the future, or social business rather, is the future of social media. It's where we are going with this whole industry after all this time. This is really cool technology, by the way, this idea of this running my laptop from my iPad up here, so it's kind of wild. It's been 7 years since the hype started, and we've seen it blow up into sort of self-professed gurus and you know, preaching to businesses and marketing teams about how they need to join the conversation and get on social, et cetera. A lot of experimentation, you know, should we be on Pinterest? Should we have a corporate Instagram account? And now it's pervasive. Everyone's got a Twitter feed and a Facebook page, et cetera. And this is a relatively short time in terms of marketing. It's only been really 7 years, but doesn't it feel like a lifetime ago for those of us who have been in it since the beginning? We saw everyone jump on the bandwagon, and you can see here just a few bios from Twitter. Social media guru, social media rock star, social media superhero, social media ninja, social media sensei. We've had everyone try to jump on and take advantage of this in terms of doing corporate social media and addressing the demands of the audience to interact with brands. And most of my clients, being very busy, very overworked marketers, looked sort of askance at first at social and then tried to experiment a little bit, went to their management teams and asked for permission, maybe a budget, and then moved from sort of this risk aversion into experimentation and finally embracing Facebook and Twitter. They called in experts, they learned social, they pushed tasks onto junior staffers, they sort of checked off all the boxes, bought a listening tool, started engaging a little bit and said, we're good. We know social now, we're operating on Facebook and Twitter. Way to go, awesome. Now back to the direct mail campaign or the next program in marketing. So all sorts of issues started happening with corporate social that didn't fit into that easy box. And speaking of box, Jack in the Box, one of my former clients, ran into a woman who went through the drive-through at a restaurant with her son, who was in the passenger seat in full uniform. He was shipping off to Afghanistan. And she asked for the military discount for her burger and fries for her son. He wanted to have that as his last meal before he went off and shipped out. And the woman behind the counter thought she heard that she wanted a discount. And she said, well, I don't know if we do that. You know, do we do that? And the blogger, who happens to be a freelance social media person, interpreted this as, why would we help the military? So she wrote a very angry blog post, and she demanded the apology of the CEO of Jack in the Box, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Fox News called. And we were all sort of like, wow, this could turn really ugly really fast. This misrepresentation, this not hearing correctly could blow up into a huge PR crisis, not fitting soundly or squarely into that social media approach channeled through marketing. Things like this happened where it could be that your franchisees or your retail presences all open a fan page, and suddenly your corporate page gets pushed down further and further and further in search results. It could be that, and I'm using CBC as an example, this may not be the case. It could be that HR went and launched their own fan page to try to get recruits and didn't talk to marketing, and marketing is all of a sudden, whoa, we've got a different department engaging in social, they don't know our messaging platform, they don't know our strategy, so we got to put the kibosh on that or at least try to rein them in. And then we have things like this. Do you guys have, can you hook audio into that laptop? I'm so sorry to ask this. Good? Okay. This is an employee at Jack in the Box who decided to create his own rap and put it on YouTube showing the back office. Can you click on that video?
Yep, Slouch Fiend, 2011. Putting it down with that nigga dope shit, aka Ray Ray, Jay Valdez. I see you back there. Let's do this. Nice shit.
You can turn it down just a little.
Nice shit, better than yours.
It's actually pretty catchy.
I'm 10, but I show up and I see my niggas
So
on the
these
rush,
guys,
putting work on the line.
you can turn it down now. They put this video up there and they show the back of the store. They show all this sort of proprietary area. They thought it was hilarious. They did it as sort of a competition with the other stores that did their night shift. And they showed all this backroom stuff, which is considered proprietary. They did it without asking, etc. Marketing is not set up often to be the police when this kind of thing happens. And this is, we're getting into franchisees and things like that where there's not necessarily a direct employment connection to the folks that are engaging in social. And you've got parody accounts and things like that that go up that sort of can diss the brand and can sometimes be really hilarious and gain a viral following. And if you don't have a plan in place to know how to deal with those things, they can get out of control. Had a CEO get religion on Twitter and demand that we add 1 million followers by the end of the year. Because in his mind, the number of fans equals success in social media because he's never been sort of informed about the success metrics or KPIs in social. So it was all about a big number, beating the competition in terms of number of fans, et cetera. We also, I had a CEO say, we need a Pinterest strategy because he read this book. And my first inclination, or first question was, why? You know, do you really need a Pinterest strategy? And why would you have a strategy for a tactic instead of a tactic that comes out of a strategy? So we've got these various issues, risk aversion within corporations where people are deathly afraid of being let go, so they're not going to rock the boat. Silos, departments that don't talk to each other, control issues where marketing or PR needs to control social media. Marketing is heads down, busy, hardcore on Marcom. There's no time or support for these kind of issues. Sometimes they'll ask for additional headcount to try to deal with it, and the answer is often no, and they just get no love to address these things, so things don't get tackled. So my question is, why is this so hard? Why is this so difficult in terms of getting this sort of thing done when customer alignment clearly can save us money and help us produce better products, help us spend our media dollars more efficiently, et cetera? Because social is often planned in a silo, it's a tool-based mentality. When I hear about you need a social media strategy or Pinterest strategy or whatever, I cringe because that is being built in a silo, that strategy, and it should be a transmedia strategy. Marketers are generally trained in monologue, trained very well in monologue and in branding strategies and messaging pillars, et cetera, and not in dialogue. We don't have the innate skills for full conversation back and forth. And we're not trained in routing those inbound requests that come in about customer care issues or whatever. We don't quite know where to send them. We don't have the time. We might forward them to someone in customer care. They may not have the governance in place or the training in place to respond to those, and customers get angry. Asking for resources is very politically risky. Often these other departments, which sort of bubble up their social efforts on their own, are unsure about social media. They're new to social media. They haven't had any sort of background in it. And employees are simply often just not trained in how to engage safely. So typically what happens is that a PR manager or a marketing manager or a social media manager will say, I need this tactic. I need an outsourced community program, or I need a Pinterest page, or I need a listening tool or whatever. And they're scratching itches that are based on tactics. They have a small problem, they want to take care of it. And what happens is that when you've got all these different things happening in social independently, mistakes can happen. For example, Microsoft, someone on the Microsoft account on Friday, a week ago, forgot he was publishing on the Microsoft corporate account and tweeted something very negative about Ann Coulter to Microsoft's 300,000 followers on Twitter. Immediately he caught the mistake, deleted it, but not a good thing to do. And that's what happens when these efforts are sort of disconnected like this. So we have this journey where marketing has taken the lead. They've tried to sort of corral things, and they've approached this from this monologue or sort of reach and frequency mentality. So they start by experimentation. They start shotgunning posts that are based on trying to drive awareness. Then come coupons, offers, and promos. And then we get into fan building because a fan base is very important. So we start buying likes and doing media buys, or ask fans for likes. Then we go to tabs and apps because if it's shinier objects and if it's flashier eye candy, maybe they'll engage with us more, so we invest money in that kind of thing. And then we try to hit some kind of arbitrary number, and this journey goes nowhere. It ends. There's no next in the journey along these lines. It's not about a better, flashier, shinier way to do reach and frequency. That's not what social strengths are, and it's not what the power of social is all about. And I'm not getting my next animation. Can you hit the right arrow for me? There we go. Recent study shows that 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 5 likes are unliked. So when my clients insist on spending money to do like buys and increase the fan base, there's a 40% built-in waste rate. I don't know anyone that wants to go to their boss and say, hey, we're going to throw away 40% of our budget, but we'll hit a number with our likes. So this is not a strategy that we recommend. I am not getting control here. Can you forward it for me? Whoops. Hello. Ruh-roh. Can you go back? Please. I'm sweating up here. Sorry? Sorry. 40% will drop off. Well, if you pursue a strategy where you're pursuing, like I need to get likes, like I want to hit 1 million fans, yeah, all that money for that spend to get people there, there's 40% that's just going to go away because they're going to unlike you anyways on average. So it's not a good thing. So it's really, for us, in my profession, the end of the line for social as a reach and frequency tool. That's not what it's for. And we see books like this, and nothing against the author, How to Get More Fans on Facebook, we built a custom Spotify app to try to get people to add us to their playlist. Okay, that's a great expense. What are you really getting? Is that part of an overall social media strategy? And it's that whole sort of shiny bell and whistle thing that there's nowhere else to go. There's no more runway on this journey of reach and frequency. And as Peter was saying, customers and partners want to engage with you at all different touch points within the organization. So I heard about your company culture through Glassdoor, we say to the HR folks. And let's say this is TELUS. I want to share my favorite HTC phone features with product development. I want to hear back from product development on what the roadmap is for the new set of phones. Are we going with 5-inch screens? Are they phablets, phone and tablets? Where are we going with HTC phones? Or what's TELUS doing? Telling operations that the Robson store is out of iPhone chargers. Or telling the CBC, hey, check out my new blog. TELUS hates the military. Crazy things like that. So customers want to engage. They want to give you feedback into all areas of the organization, not just sales and PR and marketing. There's opportunity for businesses to align across the entire organization and have much better market alignment and therefore spend efficacy if they do that. They don't care which department you're in. I love this quote. As a paying customer, I don't care which department I'm supposed to deal with. All I care about is my satisfaction. It's a resounding cry from customers that we have to pay attention to. And marketing often is not the team to do that. So this is where you need a social business strategy, and that's a little different than a social marketing strategy, and we'll talk about that right now. With a social business project, instead of going towards the folks in marketing and PR who have small tactics to execute, we start with the C level, with the executive leadership team. We get them to come together for a workshop in which we talk about business goals. What are they on the hook for the quarter? What have they promised to shareholders, et cetera, et cetera? What kind of KPIs does marketing have to hit? We get them in a room and we look at those business goals and look at which kinds of tactics, strategies, and measurable goals drop out of those, so that all of your social tactics all ladder up to goals that have been agreed to by the executive leadership team. So, typically the guys in the middle there might say, well, it's a little risky to do a Pinterest strategy, or a little risky to do a campaign using Foursquare. So I don't know if we're going to go there. Maybe we'll try it next year. And this way, no one's going to step in front of the bus that's coming down from on high. They're not going to try to interrupt that. They're going to try to support that. And the company can move forward with real results. So what comprises a social business strategy? We start with a baseline. Social audit, we look at what customers are saying, sort of a taste of listening. We look at what the competitors are doing in social, what the company's doing in social. We interview all the stakeholders and find out that any department that's touching social, PR, HR, et cetera, what are they doing? How are they talking to people? What kind of results have they seen, et cetera? And we look at the category. What kind of, how is the category impacted by social? Is it a tech category? Is it an airline category, whatever? Then we have a business goal setting workshop I discussed. We come up with a strategic framework, and we craft sort of this list of tactics, and we do an operating plan where we talk about what are the resources needed across the entire enterprise to do social right. How do they talk to each other so the left hand and right hand knows what they're doing, right? And for the first time, these departments are talking to each other and sharing information. And what are the metrics? How do we know we're being successful? Is it the number of likes, really? How about some kind of measurable goal like time on site, or preference, or sentiment, post and pre and post, et cetera? Here's a statistic, a graph from one of my clients. We did a little taste of listening for these folks. Sorry that it's a little hard to see here, but what we got in our mentions was that a lot of the conversation was happening on Twitter in the morning, and it was typically, I'm en route to this store, and it's a restaurant. I'm en route there, or I'm thinking about going there, et cetera. And it's sort of, I'm here now in retail, or on my way, I'm out in the world, and I'm tweeting about this store. And then we found in the evening, the conversation shifted over to Facebook, and that either became about dinner or it became about their television commercials. And people would share the television commercials on Facebook. And so our idea was, and the way we use this to inform our strategy, is to sort of catch people in the morning with incentives and enticements to either talk about or visit the retail presence, and then in the evening, sharing content with them that they could then share with their friends. So drive traffic, drive people into the conversation in the morning, and then to owned media in the afternoon or evening. This is an example strategic framework. You can see here that we started out with a vision that the company dominated the entire category. And our 3 business objectives that we nailed down after an intense discussion were create a love affair with our target personas, inspire and amplify the customer voice, and build a growing fan base through advocacy. So underneath each of those goals, objectives, we came up with goals. We want to increase site visits by X% per month by frequency, because that's going to drive a huge amount of revenue. We want to increase engagement because we're talking at people, not really engaging with them, getting their feedback. Increase their net promoter score in terms of positive sentiment, et cetera. And then from that, we have our strategies, which were specific social things that we could do to support those goals. So again, no one can argue with the objectives, and then it's very easy to handle all of the goals and strategies that fall out from that. And then this is an example of our tactic list. We might start out by establishing a cross-functional social tiger team, and it's not in reference to Charlie Sheen. It's in reference to being autonomous, being able to move very quickly and agilely within the organization. We might define our social players and their roles, create a content efficacy measurement system so we know which content is working, which isn't, so we're not producing weak content. and so on and so on. Create a crisis communication plan. All these different things now all support, none are done in a silo. They support all departments, not just marketing and PR, et cetera. So it's a much more holistic way to look at social from a corporate perspective. Some tactics might include a engagement training program for all the folks who are engaging with people on social channels, or they might include a playbook where you're codifying your approach, what they can say, what they can't. It's all vetted through legal, et cetera. Here is an example of a tiger team. I'm so sorry, it's difficult to read. I think the contrast is a little bright. We look at the different roles of the different departments. Marketing, they're craftspeople, right? They craft the user experience, they craft the content, et cetera. PR is great for dialogue. Guest relations, they're going to solve all the problems that come into, or customer care, to the business. Human resources is doing their own thing, and IT probably wants to own the listening tool because it's a technology platform. So when all of these folks can play at the social media table, and all of them can be social media superstars within their organization, not just constantly default to marketing or defer to marketing, then suddenly you've got a holistic team. And when they are meeting bi-monthly or semi-monthly, and they're sharing crises that are blowing up, or they're sharing programs and activities, suddenly when something comes into customer care, they know that a marketing program is going on, and they can talk to that with the customer. And one of the things that we do is a RACI, who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who is informed. And all these different typical social activities that happen within corporate social media, who is responsible for getting them done, who's ultimately accountable to management, who are we going to let know these things are happening, and who is informed about them. So just doing this alone will solve a lot of the problems of left hand and right hand, who does what, et cetera. This is, again, sorry for the contrast. It's a classic workflow for a fake airline called EastJet. And in this case, as different things come in, different kinds of posts. Is it praise? Is it spam? Is it a factual error that's well-meaning? Is it completely off topic? What's the first response? When does it get escalated? What is the escalation response? And do we delete the post? Also a very important thing. And finally, how do we sell this to management? How do we get management to understand the value of this? We start off by getting them to take a step back and think about this in terms of business goals and how business goals can be solved through social. The primary message in all of this is that you're aligning your business with your market, what your market wants, what they're telling you. You're able to produce products more quickly and go to market more quickly. You're reducing your cost, et cetera. And social has a lot of power as a channel. For example, trust building, transparency, to Peter's point. Social is a great channel for building trust because you can provide transparency. We did some work for a couple agencies ago for Marine Harvest, for the salmon farms off the coast of BC. You probably remember hearing about those. There's huge environmental outrage about this, and yet by the same token, there's concern about all the salmon being eaten by everyone within 3 years. And so my recommendation to them was put a damn camera in the pens. If the fish are unhappy and crowded and dying and floating to the surface and all these horrible things that we've seen, put a camera in the pen, an underwater camera. Let everyone see what's going on. Let them make their own judgment. That's providing a level of transparency that is hard to argue with. So, helping them visualize the lack. What happens, we call this the doomsday slide, what happens if you don't pursue social business? You've got your siloed business units acting independently. They don't generate the combined impact to make a big impact. Crises explode very, very quickly within hours. That Army blogger thing happened literally within just a few hours. And the company was shocked by how fast that took off. Customers might find product mentions in unmoderated communities by people who don't necessarily represent the brand well or know how to talk to the features, advantages, benefits. When you have 1 million fan pages, 1 million different in-country pages for larger corporations and entities, they can drown. Those corporate pages can drown and get pushed down in search because all these fan pages, everyone who's got a franchise launches a fan page, and suddenly you've got 600, 800, 1,000 Facebook fan pages for one of my clients, and you can't find the corporate brand page anywhere because it's drowning. And there's just less impact with the sort of siloed approach. All right, so we're wrapping up here. What's the final destination of this journey if we're not going after likes and tabs and apps? It's really about business outcomes, impact, and customer evidence. So we're differentiating beyond dollars. We're bringing products to market more quickly. We're activating people at retail, retaining the best talent. Most importantly, our employees have a 360-degree view of the customer base. They know and can anticipate what those customers want. And senior execs, CEOs, social CEOs can lead with engagement. And then finally, we're hearing messages from our customers that say, you are my champion, you're listening to me, you care, you want my input. And then when crises blow up or negativity is inevitably happening online or on the brand, they come to your defense in a much more credible way than me as a marketer defending my brand. So that's it. I hope you'll consider this as an alternative to what we've been hearing from a lot of folks. As Peter was saying, I believe social business is really the future. There are so many big brands that are looking to do social better, and that's really what this is all about, is doing that better. So we got about 7 minutes, I think, for questions. 5 questions. Okay.
Up there? Okay. Sure, make me run around the table.
Faster, pony.
Questions? Anybody? Back of the room. Sure. Why not?
You were talking about crises and PR things. What can you do to respond quicker and faster, other than have people monitoring your Facebook page and your Twitter accounts constantly? Like, do you do 24-hour business and have people monitoring at all times, or just 9 to 5?
We typically have hourly monitoring in the time zone where most of the customers live. Now, if it's a truly global business, that gets more difficult. You have to have a team that is sort of global and 24 hours. But if it's a Canadian brand or a US brand, primarily in North America, we suggest 8 in the morning New York time to 7 p.m. Pacific time or so, and then maybe an 8-hour window after hours. We'll suggest like a 2-hour window during the day or whatever, so that people are watching and people know how quickly they have to respond. And most importantly, we have that RACI so that when these different kinds of posts come in that smell like a potential PR crises, the right people know how to jump on them. So PR knows to be involved from a messaging perspective, customer care if it's an issue with a product or experience, et cetera.
Next question.
Hi, I was wondering which company you think is best practice in social business, who's doing it well?
I think Hewlett-Packard is doing it very well. Jack in the Box sounds very self-serving. But a lot of these companies, like Hewlett-Packard is great. Starbucks has really come a long ways and is doing a great job right now. They really took the gloves off with their social efforts and really are sort of the shining beacon that we hold up for other businesses as well. But it's really about creating these tiger teams, these cross-functional teams, and they have done that. So I would say those 3 brands. Other questions?
Down in the John. Sure, I need my exercise.
Hi, thanks for the presentation.
Sure.
Just wondering, the strategy you put forward seems to have a lot of big customers in mind, like big enterprises, and trying to think, how do I take that and apply it to a business that's 45 employees? Mm-hmm. And we don't have those resources or all those defined departments already.
Mm-hmm. I think that in terms of small business, it's really a matter of having 1 or 2 really savvy, knowledgeable, shiny objects, I call them, that face the customers and face the social media channels and can respond in a trusted way appropriately, who can tell when a crisis is brewing or can go run around and get answers for customers who are having service issues, for example. I think you don't need all of these layers and levels of things, but I think the main thing is the concept of identify the business goals for the owner or the management team or whatever, and then have that group together work out what are the social approaches and tactics that will support these goals specifically, and anything else, put it to the side. It's tough when you don't have the resources and people are busy with other things, but I think that this model can be scaled down and to just the basic concepts and having a smart one or two shiny social people that are responsible for them. Yeah, probably so.
That's right. At John Holtby on Twitter. No H. Or DTM_systems. A little plug for client there, you guys who didn't catch that. Last question. Anybody? Eric, I'm going to ask you the same question someone asked Gary Vaynerchuk yesterday, and it was a good question. And he had an interesting answer, but I'm in the agency business too, and we're pitching clients a fair bit. What do you do with people who don't want to do it, who aren't convinced, you're kind of dragging them kicking and screaming?
I show them examples. For example, Knorr. I never know how to pronounce it.
Or K-N-O-R.
We did a program with them for DDB where we did transmedia storytelling, where we started the conversation with the commercials. If you've seen Salty, the little salt shaker that wanders away from the dinner table, sad because he's no longer needed, it was playing on TV here in Vancouver for a while. And then we carried that story over to social channels so that once the campaign ran and the money ran out for broadcast, we could continue that story in social channels and have it sort of echo and reverberate. So I think that I think there are ways to I can't remember your question. Oh my God, I'm so sleepy.
No, what do you do? What do you do with the customer who just doesn't want to do it? Who's saying, I'm not sure, convince me.
To show them examples like Salty, because we bumped Knorr to the top of the category, thanks, with Sidekicks, and surpassed Uncle Ben's. We drove the most website traffic ever because we had this very compelling creative that was running in broadcast that we then took to social. And suddenly all this conversation started happening around Salty, the forlorn salt and pepper salt shaker. And those results ultimately can convince people who are not convinced because it does work. It definitely works. We're really trying it now for the first time over the last year or so, this sort of idea of social business and sort of transmedia storytelling. So I think statistics, case studies, stories of success are the way to do it.
I'm just going to get them to call you. You tell them the Knorr story. What do you think?
Sure.
Thank you very much, Eric.
All right. Thanks, Shane.